Hello, it's Kevin here. Time for a video. It's been a week or two. Just in case you don't know, we're running down every single IELTS academic writing task, one from the Cambridge previous papers. So we started with the latest at 17, so 17, 16, 15, 14, 13. And this is the final one of Cambridge 12. And the next task will be test one of Cambridge 11. Okay, now first things first, disclaimer, fair use, non-profit, etc, etc. So there you go. Now this is the task, this is my sample, and some student writings to assess. So how it works, in case you don't know, is I post a task in IELTS 9 PRO or Telegram. Links below if you're watching on YouTube or on Apparat or IELTS 9 Pro or Telegram itself, wherever. So I post the topic or task and I take the first 5 responses. I write my own example and explain why I've written it in that particular way, or why I wrote it in that particular way, and then I take a look at the students' writings. Now, I'm not going to correct every single thing that the students do, every preposition, article I might say, but I'm not going to be typing every single thing out, because I don't have the time. But anyway, so as we can see here, this one's another process. Okay. So geothermal energy, producing electricity. Now this one's relatively straightforward because it clearly labels the stages. Not every process task actually does this, So this one's, I say it's pretty straightforward. You've got 5 stages. You've got cold water injected, pumped down into the geothermal zone, production well, pumped up, condensed steam turbine into pylons and away. So pretty straightforward. So you've got a logical sequence here, anti-clockwise. You can divide it into 2 parts. What happens below ground, what happens above ground. You can do it in that way, which is what I've done here. Paragraph 3 below ground, paragraph 4 above ground. It's only 168 words because there's not a lot to say. Really, it's pretty clear, You could maybe pad your sentences out with some extra, with some extra prepositions and articles. So, the first stage of the process begins when the cold water is gradually pumped down into the, you can expand that, but you don't really need to do so for this one. Sometimes you might need to do that, but for this one, no. So, introduction. A sentence, just paraphrase, restate the topic, change the word order. The diagram depicts, illustrates the various stages, production of electricity, change the word order, and that's fine. You're not going to get many marks anyway for the introduction, but must have an overview, as I keep saying in previous videos. Overview, very important. If you don't have one, you can't get more than 5 for task achievement. So you've got to clearly, like it says here, select, report the main features and make comparisons. Not many comparisons here. That's usually if you've got kind of maps and data, But still, you must have an overview. So overall, man-made process as opposed to a natural process. It could be a cycle. Could be so. As a matter of fact, I could. Now I think on it, I could put in a linear because it's got a clear start point and an end point. So I could do that now that I think on, because it could be a cycle, like a natural cycle. The life cycle of a salmon, the life cycle of a caterpillar. So it'd be a natural cyclical process. But this here is clearly man-made and a linear process in that it has a clear start point and a clear end point. You don't have to list all the changes in the overview, beginning with cold water and steam driving the generation of electricity. So the first stage begins when cold water is pumped down, injection well. Now, what you need to be doing here is using your sequencing language. Yeah. First stage begins after this, which leads in turn the water by now is subsequently after rising. It is in the final stage. So you need to use these connectors and make a sequence. So you're using sequential language, transitional words and phrases. So there's a clear this leads to this, leads to this, leads to this, etc. So first stage begins when cold water is pumped down. After this, by now being heated, blah blah blah. So as I say, I split this up because I thought, right, you can put it into a single paragraph, but it doesn't look particularly good. So what happens below ground? What happens above ground? So you got introduction. You could join the overview in the introduction because the introduction is only a single sentence. Okay, doesn't matter. But then, what happens below? What happens above? 169 words. So I'll just leave that there for a second, and you can read it and see for yourself. Okay. So that's pretty straightforward. So what we'll do now, we'll go back to the students' responses, and we'll see what they can do. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the student examples now. So 161 words. Okay, the diagram shows a process of generating electricity from energy in a geothermal power plant. Oh, okay. In general, 5 steps that have happened. Oops. Keep forgetting. Put the changes on. That have happened or that happened, because this is in general. Oh, what am I doing here? Where's these changes? Okay, right. So we can use present simple because this is a general process, yeah? So the process has 5 steps that happen in 2 wells. Okay, injection and production. So, okay, but you need to be careful, because if you put too much detail in your overview, there's nothing for you to say in the main section, really. The process started. The process starts, again, present simple, in injected well and ends up in a generator. Well, what's the difference between that sentence and that, between sentence 2 and sentence 3? What's the difference? 5 steps that happen in 2 wells of injection, production, what ends up in the generator. So you don't really need those 2 sentences. You could surely combine those. I think what the author here has done, because the diagram is pretty simple, I think they may have had some trouble in making up a sufficient word count. At first step, cool. I thought it was cold. Well, yeah, it's not simply, it's not simply cool, it's cold. Cold water pumped, underground rocks, rejection well, that kind of depth. Then the water heated by hot rocks directed to the bottom of the well. After that, the hot water is pumped out through production water to a condenser on top of Earth. On top of Earth, you mean on the surface? When hot water changes to steam form in a condenser. In the next step, the steam goes to a turbine. Powered lastly by the power of turbine or of the turbine. A generator runs. Change thermal. Well, it's not thermal power, is it? It's steam power. Power generators to go to power electrical industry. So not too bad, but still we could get a little bit more out of it, and we need to watch some of the grammar and vocab there. The draw. express. Well, it doesn't express. It can maybe illustrate or depict or show, but it can't express. This is what happens when you try to paraphrase too much. It doesn't work. So from internal, what exactly is from internal Earth thermal? Right. So again, this is what happens when you try and paraphrase too much. You end up changing it in ways that it's not the same. It's not as intended. Multiple stages. Into the Earth. I don't want to have to type out every single change for all 5 of these, but to power turbine by turbine to occurring electricity is depictable. Well, right. First stages, surely it would be are depicted. Yeah. But multiple stages are depicted. Well, but okay, but that's not an overview. Because here it says, in sentence 1, that's where you should say, right, it depicts, it illustrates, it shows, etc., etc. Okay. Then, overall, how many stages? What's the key features? So that needs to be reworded there. So for the wells, long cold injection well to the places of the Earth with geothermal. Well, it simply says to the geothermal zone, so you could just say that to the geothermal zone. You could simply say that. There's nothing wrong with that. Again, you need to be very, very careful. Now, right. First, if you paraphrase too much, one, you don't need to. You can change your word order and other things. But if you paraphrase too much, it changes it. It's not the same. It's not the same topic or rubric. It's just not. To the places of Earth with geothermal. You mean the geothermal zone? Now, where does it say that? In the diagram, does it say any mention of where the geothermal zone originates? Existence of volcanoes. So, you don't put in stuff that is supposition. If it doesn't show it, don't use it. You can't prove that. It's supposition. They don't like opinion or supposition. Simply, this picture, diagram, chart, graph, table, map shows this, and that's it. Okay? The inner thermal of Earth raises the temperature of the pumped. I don't want to have to rewrite every single one here. So, the inner thermal of Earth, so the geothermal zone, raises the temperature of the pumped cold water, and then hot water is obtained from the other further well, named as production well. So, why not simply say from the production well, hot water is pumped up to the surface of the Earth, as opposed to the surface of the Moon. The next step is producing steam, or the production of steam, by a condenser used to rotate a turbine working and rotating by steam. Well, we just said steam. And then you've got this. In the final stage, we need a generator. So, needs a bit of reorganization, a bit of reorganization, as you can probably see there. And grammar and vocab, of course. Now, this is way too short, 107 words. There's nothing to it. The diagram process produces by geothermal energy. Okay, that's good. Now, where's the stages? So all that you've said is it's got this equipment, but it doesn't give a clear overview. It doesn't say what the stages are. There's this stage, there's that stage, etc. Stored cold water from depth in the geothermal zone. They put more passive hot against heat as well, so upwards. tour the production well. In the condenser section, steam is produced. So they've got all the stages, but it's really, really short, simple sentences. 107 words. Now, listen, right. Before I continue, you might have noticed that my voice is a little bit off. Let me drink some of my ginger tea. The reason why is the last few days, like a week, I've had a cold. I had a pretty bad cold and chest infection. Not to bore you, but that's why my voice sounds a little bit husky, because of this. Okay, so I hope when I make the next video it will sound a little better. We will see. So the illustration delineates, right? Again, this is what happens when you try and paraphrase. Does it really do that, or does it simply show? So there's utilization. Okay. Overall, 5 stages. Beginning. Okay. So overview. Okay, but 135 words. Now, obviously, it's better than the previous one, 107 words, but 135 words. Okay, to begin with, pump put down to the ground, then it injected enough to reach the hot rocks, so the geothermal can be altered into hot one. So the cold water, can you alter water? Okay, after the production, but you're not producing anything though, really, are you? You're changing cold water into hot. Is that production? The produced hot water is pumped up onto, it's not simply poured onto the ground, it's pumped up towards the surface, but it's not pumped onto the ground. That would be rather a waste of water. Subsequently, hot water determines demands to meet the turbine's demands of required power. Well, the turbine doesn't demand anything. The turbine's produce, the turbine, the steam powers the turbine, which in turn powers the generator, or makes the generator, turbine kind of spins, provides a sort of power. So that's kind of, but okay, so look, 135 words, a bit short, and really, one or two things there need to be changed. You've got prepositions pumped up onto with some missing articles. So, as I say, I'm not going to type out every single one. Now, this one, 130. Now, right, I took the first 5, right? So, like I do with every single time, I say first 5 will be corrected and reviewed. Okay. And I don't know, maybe this diagram lends itself to being quite short. We've got 132, 137, was it 102 words? It's pretty short. So how is exactly is it stipulated? It doesn't provide information. That's what I'm doing now. The diagram illustrates or shows, or depicts, if you want to use one of those 3 different verbs. It is plainly observed. You mean overall. 5 stages. Okay, so that overview is better. Okay. That makes cold water enters. That then makes cold water enter into the geothermal zone of hot rocks, being among hot rocks, followed by the entrance of water into a production well, in which hot water is formed. After pumping hot water up to the surface of the ground, or simply up to the surface, enters into a condenser, produced steam is able to power a turbine, or the turbine, located before a generator, by which eventually electricity is produced. It should be noted. Why should it be noted particularly? Simply say, this is this is that. You don't have to say, it should be. Why should it be noted particularly? You can use that in an essay, for example. if you're giving an example, but you don't really need it here, to industrial, and it doesn't say what it's being used for. So, okay, so as you can see then, a fair amount of work for the authors still to do. I'll just put mine back up for the end there. So, dear, as I say, I don't know if making this video this morning was a particularly good idea. My speaking voice is not so good, but it's been a week now, and I have to get something underway. So, anyway, bad voice aside, I hope that is useful. I hope it gives you some ideas about how to structure it, how to break it down, introduction, overview, how to split the information into a couple of paragraphs. Here it was easy: below ground, above ground, and logical structure. That's what you actually need. So I hope that helps. I hope I'll sound a little better for next time. We'll see. And the next task is from Cambridge 11. I think it's another process. I'm not entirely sure. I'll check it out after this, but look out for that one. That video is coming, I don't know, in a few days' time. So I'll see you later. Links below, etc. If you need anything, feel free to contact me anytime. And if I still have a voice, I'll try and answer you. But I hope by the end of the week I will be fine. So, hope that helps. See you next time.